It happened! And it doesn't just go away. You just can't walk away, do you hear me?
It looked like just another action-packed sci-fi, enhanced soldiers, explosive battles, and a war without end. But Universal Soldier was a war behind the scenes. Directors fought over tone, studios demanded blockbuster thrills, and Jean-Claude Van Damme pushed for realism. The result? Chaos, compromise, and cinematic intensity. In today's video, we'll uncover the 20 shocking secrets behind Universal Soldier. Shocking secret. 1. The brutal on-set rivalry between Van Damme and Lundgren. Behind the muscle-bound heroes of Universal Soldier was a rivalry that bordered on war. Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren were both riding waves of fame, and both refused to play second best. What started as playful competition turned into full-blown hostility. Crew members recall moments where the two nearly came to blows between takes, trading taunts and cold glares while cameras rolled. Their tension was so real that some of the film's most intense fight scenes needed no acting at all. Director Roland Emmerich later admitted that while it made filming hellish, the friction added authenticity to their performances. It was art imitating aggression, an unplanned realism that powered the movie's energy. In Universal Soldier, the enemies weren't just on screen. They were in the makeup trailer too. Shocking Secret 2. The original script was far darker. Before Hollywood polished Universal Soldier into an action spectacle, its script was a chilling anti-war tragedy. Early drafts painted the soldiers as tortured, decaying remnants of a failed experiment, half machine, half memory. There were no slick one-liners or glamorous hero moments, just the horror of lost humanity. But producers feared it was too bleak for audiences expecting an adrenaline rush. They demanded rewrites to inject more explosions, more humor, and more Van Damme charisma. What was once a psychological sci-fi turned into a popcorn blockbuster. Yet, traces of that haunting origin remain. In the haunted eyes of the soldiers, in the sterile labs, and in the film's quietest moments. Before it was entertainment, Universal Soldier was meant to disturb. Shocking Secret 3. The infamous Cannes fight wasn't staged. When Van Damme and Lundgren faced off at the Cannes Film Festival, many thought it was a clever publicity stunt. It wasn't. The two stars began arguing during interviews, escalating into shoves and shouted insults on the red carpet. Cameras flashed as security separated them, while tabloids went wild over the fight of the century. Insiders later revealed that tensions from the set had never cooled, and the festival confrontation was a genuine continuation of their feud. Ironically, the chaos only boosted ticket sales. The world couldn't resist seeing the two men settle their differences on screen. The most unforgettable Universal Soldier fight happened long before the cameras rolled. Shocking Secret 4. Real injuries nearly halted production. The film's relentless action came at a high cost. Between grueling stunts, pyrotechnics, and punishing heat, the cast and crew suffered constant injuries. Van Damme sprained his wrist during a stunt gone wrong, while Lundgren dislocated a shoulder performing one of his signature moves. Several stunt performers required hospital visits due to exhaustion and burns from faulty effects rigs. Production schedules were thrown into chaos as scenes were restructured around their recoveries. But in true 90s action fashion, both stars pushed through the pain, refusing body doubles for major sequences. The result was authentic, high-octane combat that still feels raw today. Every explosion came with blood, sweat, and broken bones. Shocking Secret 5. The studio hated the first cut. When director Roland Emmerich delivered his first version of Universal Soldier, studio executives were horrified. They found it too bleak, too violent, and too long. The tone was closer to dystopian horror than summer blockbuster. Entire scenes of emotional breakdowns and tragic flashbacks were cut in favor of tighter pacing and bigger action. Van Damme himself reportedly lobbied to preserve key character moments, but the final edit prioritized spectacle over story. The result divided audiences but cemented the film's cult appeal years later. Beneath the explosions lies a deeper film, one we never fully got to see. The Universal Soldier you know is only half the movie it was meant to be. Shocking Secret 6. The film was saved by last-minute editing chaos. After the studio rejected Roland Emmerich's original cut, the editing room became a war zone. Different producers demanded competing tones. Some wanted pure action, others pushed for more sci-fi depth. At one point, 3 separate editors were working on conflicting versions simultaneously. In a desperate move, Emmerich pieced together scenes overnight, rearranging sequences to preserve pacing and coherence. Against all odds, the final version managed to balance military grit with futuristic energy. But insiders say many of the film's most iconic moments, like the motel confrontation and the desert chase, were re-edited almost frame by frame at the last second. The chaos in the edit bay gave Universal Soldier its pulse of adrenaline and madness. Shocking Secret 7. Van Damme's off-screen lifestyle. Nearly derailed filming by the early 90s, Jean-Claude Van Damme was Hollywood's golden boy, but fame came with wild excess. During the Universal Soldier shoot, crew members reported erratic behavior, late arrivals, and nights of heavy partying that bled into production days. At one point, Emmerich allegedly delayed shooting an entire sequence because Van Damme hadn't slept in 36 hours. The studio brought in a handler to keep him focused, though insiders say he still insisted on personally choreographing fight scenes. His charisma and work ethic shone through when it counted, but the toll was visible. What you see on screen, the intensity, the manic energy, wasn't always acting. Behind every perfect kick was a man barely holding his world together. Shocking Secret 8. Dolph Lundgren's monologues were almost cut entirely. Dolph Lundgren's chilling portrayal of Sergeant Scott, equal parts monster and philosopher, wasn't always appreciated by the studio. Test audiences found his rambling war speeches too disturbing, too long, too weird. Executives pushed to trim them down, wanting him to be a silent brute instead of a broken soldier haunted by ideology. But Emmerich fought to keep them, arguing they gave the film psychological depth and made Scott more than a one-note villain. His gamble worked. Those eerie, unhinged monologues became fan favorites, defining Lundgren's legacy as more than just a muscle icon. They tried to silence him, but his madness became the film's heartbeat. Shocking Secret 9. The budget nearly collapsed. Mid-production, Universal Soldier wasn't the major studio juggernaut it looked like. Financial problems plagued the set from the start, forcing the crew to recycle props, costumes, and even vehicles from other productions. Midway through filming, a funding partner pulled out, leaving Emmerich scrambling for money to finish. Rumors spread that filming would shut down entirely, but Van Damme and Lundgren's growing star power helped secure emergency financing, and the shoot barely made it to completion. To stretch the budget, effects teams used creative tricks, miniatures, matte paintings, and reused explosions from test reels. It was a blockbuster built from scraps and sheer determination. Shocking Secret 10. The soundtrack was a last-minute replacement. Originally, the film's score was meant to be an industrial synth masterpiece, aligning with its grim, futuristic tone. But late in post-production, producers decided the music was too experimental and hired composer Christopher Franke to redo the entire score in just a few weeks. The result was a hybrid of electronic tension and heroic beats that gave the movie its now iconic rhythm. Lost to time, the original soundtrack remains buried in studio archives, never released to the public. Some insiders claim it gave the film a colder, more tragic feel, one that might have shifted its legacy entirely. The movie changed tempo, trading art for adrenaline and darkness for pulse. Shocking Secret 11. The desert finale was a nightmare to film. The climactic desert showdown, explosions, gunfire, and a relentless chase through the dunes nearly broke the production. Filmed in blistering 120-degree heat, crew members fainted from dehydration, while equipment overheated and failed. Van Damme and Lundgren performed most of their stunts themselves, often running multiple takes under the sun without shade. The scene's gritty realism came from genuine exhaustion and frustration. Rumor has it that Lundgren punched a prop vehicle in anger when it stalled mid-shot, shattering his knuckles but refusing medical help until the sequence wrapped. The cast called it Hell on Earth, yet that very suffering forged one of the most intense finales of early 90s cinema. The pain was real, and it burned into every frame of that desert inferno. Shocking secret. 12. Van Damme's infamous Cannes incident resurfaced. After Universal Soldier's release, Van Damme couldn't escape the shadow of his Cannes confrontation with Lundgren. Reporters continued to question him about the feud, sparking more heated interviews and viral headlines. During a French talk show appearance, he walked off mid-broadcast after a jab about Lundgren's acting superiority. The media frenzy reignited interest in the film, turning its behind-the-scenes chaos into marketing gold. What was once a PR disaster became an unintentional masterstroke. Audiences flooded theaters just to see the chemistry that nearly turned violent. In Universal Soldier, even scandal became a weapon of mass promotion. Shocking secret. 13. Roland Emmerich's career almost ended. Here before Independence Day made him a household name, Roland Emmerich was on thin ice. Studio heads doubted his ability to handle a large-scale action film, and constant delays put his reputation at risk. Insiders say he was one meeting away from being replaced during post-production. But when the movie finally hit, its global box office success saved his career overnight. Emmerich learned to blend big action with tight pacing, skills he later perfected in his disaster epics. Without Universal Soldier, there might never have been Independence Day or The Day After Tomorrow. The film that nearly destroyed Emmerich's career also built his legend. Shocking secret. 14. The prop weapons were more dangerous than real guns. To achieve a hyper-realistic look, the props department modified actual military firearms, sometimes using live components. During one close-up explosion, a rifle malfunctioned and discharged debris toward the camera crew. Miraculously, no one was seriously injured, but safety protocols were overhauled afterward. The near miss caused the studio's insurance company to threaten cancellation unless all future scenes were reviewed by on-site armorers. Yet, those same high-risk props gave the movie its authentic edge. The sound, the recoil, the chaos, it all looked and felt terrifyingly real. Every shot fired was closer to danger than anyone realized. Shocking secret. 15. The emotional core was improvised. In a rare moment of vulnerability, Van Damme's character confronts his lost humanity, a scene that wasn't in the original script. On set, Emmerich told Van Damme to just remember what it feels like to be broken. What followed was a haunting, nearly silent performance that stunned the crew. His tears, his hesitations, all unscripted. The sequence humanized the relentless soldier, turning what could have been a one-dimensional role into a tragic portrait of identity and memory. Producers wanted to cut it, fearing it slowed the pace, but Emmerich refused. It became the film's beating heart. A soldier cried, and the movie found its soul. Shocking secret. 16. The set was haunted by accidents and bad luck. From the very first day of filming, the Universal Soldier production seemed plagued by something unexplainable. Equipment malfunctioned without cause, cameras jammed mid-shot, and light rigs flickered like they were alive. During one night shoot, a generator exploded seconds after being switched on, forcing the crew to evacuate. Superstitious whispers spread fast. Some claimed the location, an abandoned military base, was cursed after previous accidents. One technician broke his arm when a crane suddenly gave out, and another swore he saw a shadowy figure watching from behind the set lights. Even hardened stuntmen began carrying charms and crosses for protection. The chaos added tension to every scene, giving the movie its gritty unpredictability. Whether coincidence or something darker, Universal Soldier carried a strange energy that no one could explain. This film didn't just battle chaos, it was built on it. Shocking secret. 17. The real military took interest in the film. When Universal Soldier hit development, it caught the eye of people far beyond Hollywood. The U.S. military reportedly sent quiet observers to monitor production after rumors spread that the film's resurrection technology mirrored classified defense concepts. Roland Emmerich received anonymous inquiries asking about his sources for the neurocontrol sequences, and military protocols depicted on screen. Some early drafts included detailed procedures for cryogenic revival and human performance tracking, details that felt unnervingly authentic. While the Pentagon denied any involvement, a few crew members claimed they were approached by men who didn't say who they worked for. The film's mix of speculative science and realism may have touched on research programs that weren't entirely fiction. Whether coincidence or revelation, the uneasy proximity between science fiction and real experimentation left an indelible mark on everyone who worked on it. Sometimes, Hollywood gets too close to the truth for comfort. Shocking Secret 18, a hidden tribute to real soldiers, lies buried in the credits. Amid explosions and chaos, Universal Soldier carried a hidden tribute few ever noticed. In the film's end credits, a quiet dedication reads, "To those who serve and those forgotten." Emmerich inserted this after speaking with real veterans hired as extras, men who'd seen combat and lived with the invisible scars of it. Their stories shaped the emotional tone of the movie, inspiring scenes of memory loss, trauma, and identity crisis. Many of these veterans said the film mirrored their struggle to reintegrate into normal life, feeling like soldiers in bodies that no longer belonged to them. For all its violence and spectacle, the movie became a subtle reflection on post-war disillusionment. This unspoken homage transformed what could have been pure action into something hauntingly human. Behind every cyborg soldier was a real man who couldn't turn his memories off. Shocking Secret 19, the lost alternate endings that no one will ever see before release. Universal Soldier had 3 endings, each testing a different emotional tone. In one, Van Damme's character dies in his lover's arms, finally free of control. In another, he and Lundgren annihilate each other in a mutual explosion. The third was a surreal, dreamlike vision, suggesting he never escaped the program at all. Test audiences reacted with confusion, and the studio forced a cleaner, heroic finale instead. Those unused reels were sent to a storage facility in California, only to be destroyed in a warehouse fire years later. No backups, no prints, nothing but still photos and fading memories. Film historians call them the Lost Endings, a ghost trilogy of what Universal Soldier might have been: tragic, ambiguous, unforgettable. 3 endings burned away, leaving only the one they could control. Shocking Secret 20, the franchise that should never have existed. Ironically, Universal Soldier was never meant to spawn sequels. Roland Emmerich envisioned it as a self-contained story, a meditation on the human cost of control. But the movie's box office success triggered a corporate feeding frenzy. Within a year, spin-offs, low-budget sequels, and even TV adaptations were rushed into production. Many without Emmerich's involvement. The heart and tragedy of the original were stripped away in favor of cheap spectacle. Van Damme himself returned for later entries, admitting he did it to set things right, though the spark was never the same. Over time, the film evolved from hit action flick to cult parable about what happens when art becomes product. Fans still debate whether its legacy was enhanced or diluted, but one truth remains: the original was lightning in a bottle. They resurrected the soldiers, but never recaptured the soul. Universal Soldier wasn't just a sci-fi action movie. It was a battlefield, a clash of ego, power, and ambition that left its mark on everyone involved. Beneath the bullets and futuristic soldiers was a story about identity, control, and what happens when humans become weapons. Maybe that's why it endures, because it reminds us that obedience without thought can become its own nightmare. If this uncovered a truth about Universal Soldier you never knew, drop your favorite secret in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more revelations from the films that broke the rules of combat. Remember, soldiers fight, but humanity survives.